I worry more about him like starting to threaten nuclear war, or I can't see him leaving office quietly without issuing martial law and saying, I'm sending the troops out. And that's where we have a big conflict.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting edition. This edition is going to be slam-packed when we talk about 2 Men in Black and White and honest conversation. There is so much to talk about. Let's get right to it. Brock and Ellis joins us now live from the beautiful confines of the upper Hudson River Valley. All right, Brock, this man is dying before our eyes. He can't walk straight. We got video from this weekend of him, really limping badly with his grandkid. He's out here selling cologne. He's posting for his own impeachment. I mean, at what point do we 25th amend this guy? He's got to go. And I feel like we're heading in that direction. What say you?
I feel like I woke up positive today, and it got me remembering this summer of like how downbeat we were about, oh my God, 3.5 more years of Trump. This is a train wreck. Every day Doji was cutting another department, and we we're like, what the fuck is going on? How is America on board for this? Like, how are we going to survive living in this country? But here we are like 90-ish days later, and the wheels are kind of coming off MAGA. And I feel like America is waking up to the fact they've been like just bullshitted to. And hoodwinked, and they're feeling the pain. And I feel like MAGA's a bit on the run, and they're falling apart internally. So you know how it was. You know how it is when you're playing ball, right? And you're going on a run, the other team calls timeout, and guys are yelling at each other, walking off the court, and you're just like, we got these guys, right? They're falling apart. And that's how I'm looking at MAGA right now. Like, the big story this morning apparently was like how there's potentially going to be a big wave of resignations.
Yes.
Amongst MAGA Congress people that I think even Kevin McCarthy called MTG a canary in the coal mine.
Yes.
And then a lot of them are just going to say, fuck this, I'm not running.
Well, Brock, think about it. If you get 2 seats, right? I mean, the House flips before we even get to midterms, right? And we're talking about a wave of resignations due to the fact that so many of because I was checking out Punch Bowl, right? And so Punch Bowl focuses on just what's happening in the House. And if you look at what's happening in the House, so many of these MAGA Congress people are pissed because MAGA Mike Grinder Johnson only wants to focus on Trump. He won't let them get any good things out about what's happening in their districts, and it's all Trump focused. So they're pissed. They don't feel respected, so they're like, why are we doing this? Anyone who's got any kind of tenure at all, if they got the lifetime benefits package, the pension, many of them got that, they're out of here, pal. They're out of here.
When I read that story this morning, my first reaction was, what a bunch of fucking pussies. They're going to walk away and resign, but they'll never vote against Trump, and they'll never stand up to either him. They could vote against Mike Johnson right now and get a new speaker if they didn't like the way he's running the show, that he's too much of a toady for Trump. But none of them will do that. They'll text reporters on the sly, incognito, and whine about the fact they're not being respected. So my take is kind of like, adi fucking os. Get the fuck out of the way. I'm embarrassed for them as human beings that they can't even make a stand. But I'm happy to see them go, and I can't wait to see that one would tip the scales, because at some point there'll be that one person where they have a 1-vote majority who's gonna resign. And I mean, talk about death threats. That person is gonna be scared shitless. But
it's going to send the Trump regime into a tailspin,
which
they're already in. They are already in it. This whole Bolsonaro thing, down in Brazil, where this guy's on the run.
You got to this already? I thought it was going to be a quick hit. You got Bolsonaro already in the first 5 minutes.
My bad. But it tells you how deranged Trump is. He wants to help this guy escape arrest. And, I think we're going to be... Does he not know who he spoke to? Or was he trying to help this guy flee from arrest and a 20-year jail sentence?
Were we really?
Court held that fucking guy accountable for trying to start a January 6th style riot down there.
I mean, were we really trying to, help him sneak out of house arrest and smuggle him in a crate onto a boat, onto like a Air Force One or something? I mean, what a fucking bizarre, absurd story once again. Just, yeah, that's the random shit that Trump and his team are thinking about when people can't put food on the table.
Right.
And that's where their focus is. But if we get back to Mike Johnson in a second, now they're having infighting about what are they going to do with his ACA premiums. Because Trump's team is floating the fact of extending them, right? Because Trump's watching these polls, right? He's getting spanked on TV showing these horrendous polls. Mike Johnson's got all these hardcore MAGA fucking maniacs who don't want anything extended. So now more infighting on the right about whether, they should extend some premiums, because obviously every one of these politicians' constituents are lighting up their phone lines and screaming at them in public because they're looking at what their healthcare costs are going to do, which is a dex for many of them looking into 26.
So think about it, Brock. Your healthcare costs are going to double, maybe triple in some places. Your local hospital is closing, which adds even more of an expense. You run a small business. You're a red MAGA supporter, and Trump's selling $200 a bottle cologne. What the fuck are you looking forward to right now? This guy's selling $200 cologne. He's fucking hawking more shit from the Oval Office, bro. What happened to the emoluments clause? I mean, what the fuck is going on? If you're that business owner, Brock, out in Kearney, Nebraska, and your healthcare premiums for you, your wife, your employees, your kid are about to double, and you've been MAGA, adjacent and elite all this time, what the f you hopeful about for 2026?
Interesting you lobbed that out. In Nebraska, there is a rep in Arkansas who lost in the Republican primary in the last election cycle, who is now flipped over, re-registering as a Democrat, and he's going to run in the primary for that same seat. Says he's changed his beliefs, feels like MAGA and the Republican Party has lost its way on affordability, and he hears the cries of the people in the district about what you just laid out, health care and food. All affordability, said the Republicans have lost their way on this topic, and now he's going to run. Now, is that the kind of Democrat I want? Absolutely fucking not. But if that's the only Democrat that can win in a ruby red Arkansas district, I'll take that guy over the crazy Trump acolyte who inevitably has the seat right now.
Right.
So there's some shit going on out there that is chipping away at MAGA world.
Yeah. And you know what, Brock? It's great for us. This makes me feel so much better, especially when you referred to the dog days of summer. I mean, just thinking back to how miserable it was just to get out of bed to say, what the fuck did this guy do overnight? Or what did he tweet overnight? I think it's interesting that he's lobbing out his own impeachment, because maybe he works out a deal where he just goes away. Let's say, check out this scenario, because I've been playing with this for a couple of hours.
Okay,
We get these mass resignations, right? So this fucker can't do anything in Congress, can't get anything else done. He's already made a few billion that he didn't have, right? He's acquired 40% of his wealth in the first 9 months. We don't know what he's made these last.
yeah, we have no idea.
And we don't know what else he's got, coming in, that's in the pipe. What if he cuts a deal and says, hey, I'll walk away, impeach and remove me, and I'll just go away, just don't put me in jail?
Well, he would resign before the impeachment, right, in some sort of negotiated deal. I don't see it. I think he's too much of a narcissist. I think he's too much of a malignant narcissist, and he will just amp up the pain and suffering he inflicts on others. And I see him going the other direction and just doing crazy shit and having to be removed because he starts doing shit that's even beyond the pale to people on the right. Like, I worried more about him like starting to threaten nuclear war, or I can't see him leaving office quietly without issuing martial law and saying, I'm going to fucking I'm sending the troops out. And that's where we have a big conflict. So that's where my head is at. I think it's more likely that Trump leads us into some sort of quasi-civil war or conflict versus ever walking away quietly. But he's so fucking, his mental decline is so severe now.
Right.
Sometimes I wonder if he he actually knows what the fuck's going on or remembers what he could announce martial law one day and wake up the next morning and not remember he did it.
Exactly. And how do you explain this debacle on the healthcare plan? You know, we got a healthcare plan, we don't got a healthcare plan. We're rolling it out, we're not. What like
I think Trump wants to roll out the subsidies because he has political instincts. He's a survivor. He sees it's going against him. He's like, why don't we just give people more health care? He just wants his own riches in the comfort of his own life, so he doesn't care one way or the other. So he's like, okay, so let's extend it if it shuts people up. But in Congress, some of those fuckers are even more hardcore ideologues, and they don't want it, so it gets him into, kind of a fight on his own side.
Yeah.
Look, MAGA doesn't really want to ever deliver a healthcare plan, because once you deliver a plan, you've made choices. Once you make choices in the policy, some people are happy with them, some are not. Inevitably, some people are not going to be happy. So they've always been better off not having a plan and just criticizing the Democrats' plan, right? Because it's easy to criticize healthcare plans. None of them are any good, right?
Right.
People are still going to die. People are still going to get sick. There's going to be shitty outcomes. So, healthcare is not a winner's game, right?
Yeah. Hospitals are still going to close. We still got anti-vaxxers out there. Brock, doesn't this shock you, this whole anti-vax movement? I just don't see how it's responsible of an adult who is more than likely vaccinated themselves to say, hey, I don't want my kid having vaccines. I don't have in my, what I consider to be a rather large network of friends and family in my phone that even have a child with autism. They're acting like every other kid that gets, injections has autism. I mean, it's insane.
What I don't understand about it.
Started this whole shit.
What I don't understand about the anti-vax thing is I just don't understand what you're winning. What are you winning? You're winning the ability to not have your kid have a sugar cube with a polio vaccine in it. You're winning not taking a shot. But on the flip side, the third infant, let's say, the third infant in the last 12 months has died of whooping cough in the state of Connecticut. Okay, just the state of Connecticut, 3 deaths from whooping cough. This is one of those diseases that had just been flat out eradicated, right?
Yes.
You could have Googled whooping cough 10 years ago and you'd be the only one that ever hit on the term, right? But, so between measles and whooping cough and, we're having another COVID season. It's supposedly going to be a really, really severe flu season.
Right.
And we know we've lived through these, and the shot is sitting right there at the pharmacy. It's been free basically our whole lives. What are people winning by not taking it? What are they high-fiving in their living rooms that they're eating freedom fries, saying I control my body until they get sick, and then they're going to be at the emergency room, right? And then they're going to expect modern medicine to save them.
Well, Rob, in the midst of another pandemic, do we really want the regime and RFK dictating the response to another flu or COVID outbreak? Do we want these morons in charge?
Absolutely not.
I don't.
Imagine a more severe strain of COVID hit,
No.
a more, and, half the country's not vaccinated. I mean, you could almost argue, I can't say that that's likely to happen, but that is not unlikely because there's a new strain every year, right? So all it's going to take is one that's more severe than the last one, or, that just spreads quicker than the last one, or, gets in the lungs faster or something like that. And we'll have waves of people having to go flood our hospitals to get treatment again, but we won't have a response. It will have a response like we got from Trump the first time. Hey, it's not happening. Hey, let's blame China. Hey,
Or we can bleach it.
We can bleach,
Get the light in your booty, and we can do it that way. It's fucking maddening to me.
But when you get someone like Kennedy from Louisiana, the only doctor in the Senate, right, and he still won't admit that he got played by RFK, right? Won't admit it. When obviously he knows he did, but yet he's mad at him. Now Chuck Grassley's mad at RFK threatening him because something about pesticides. affects the farmers in Iowa, right? So 92-year-old and 93-year-old Chuck Grassley's coming out of the crypt to complain about RFK, but they all voted for him. They knew what they were getting. They knew exactly what they were getting. He
They knew
told you
exactly what they were
exactly who
getting.
he was.
Yes, and it was no secret, that he's fucking retarded. I mean, he just is brain dead, literally. I mean, this guy has no value to the American health system. He's not even qualified for the fucking position. Why do we even have this fucking guy there? And, again, our country is not better off. We are less healthy than we were a year ago. And we are in more danger than we've ever been in at this point.
We're less healthy.
Because who the hell knows what's coming this winter, like you said, with the flu, COVID, and whooping cough, and what else? The measles is back. Like, I mean, what else are we going to have to fucking deal with that, isn't really a non-starter? Should be a non-starter.
We had a guy in Washington die of like a bird flu strain. So like that's still floating around out there. But not only are we less healthy, we're less wealthy, we're less educated, right? We're less employed based upon the ADP numbers. Of course, the government doesn't release unemployment figures anymore because it doesn't like what the numbers are going to show. So we have to look at the ADP payroll data, which showed an average of 14,000 jobs lost per week in the month of October. So that's a downward cycle. And we just know anecdotally that people aren't finding new jobs. So unemployment's on the rise, even though we won't get the numbers. So all those things, and we're less safe because the way we act in the international community, buddying up to autocrats and throwing our Democratic friends under the bus makes us less safe, and we're less optimistic. If you look at the consumer confidence numbers that came out, came out this morning. They were the lowest since April, and they were particularly negative for the expectations, which is people's outlook over the next 6 months. So that's how we head into the holiday season.
Absolutely. And is there any surprise that people are not confident? And speaking of the holiday season, let's remind folks again, tomorrow is November 26th. It is probably the biggest day that we've had in this first 10 months of this regime, because we need to, get a book on tape. Do anything on your computer besides shop for the next 7 days. And let's shut this shit down. Let's show these oligarchs that they have absolutely no right dictating what other Americans are entitled to. It's always shocked me that they call Social Security benefits entitlements. What is that? What is the entitlement there? I'm paying into the system, you fucking fool. Why the fuck can you call that an entitlement? Like, I mean, they have hijacked so many terms that, everyday Americans have lost common sense when it comes to thinking about some of these issues. Republicans have convinced, these MAGA fools that, people just aren't entitled to Social Security. It's not going to be there for you. What the fuck? Brock, again, we need to let these 83 oligarchs, including Zuckerberg, Bezos, whoever the fuck they are, that you don't decide the fate of 340 million Americans, minus your 80 freaking 3. You don't decide that.
Well,
we decide where we'll go and what our future holds.
Can enough Americans put their consumerism aside and put it in the drawer for 7-8 days and let the malls be empty? Let the Applebee's have a bunch of empty seats in that little corner restaurant in the mall, and let Target have empty aisles so their rules where their employees have to smile and try to be more friendly are irrelevant because there's no one in the fucking store, and can Home Depot only have people in there returning 17-cent ice scrapers because we don't want to reward them for being friends to ICE and for their MAGAism? I mean, is it going to be that hard for America to step away from their spending and from our national pastime, right? Which is consumerism. It's easy for me. I ain't buying shit. I'm never buying shit. So I'll talk about the blackout, but to be honest, it's kind of an easy game for me. What's harder for me is boycotting like the television stations, right? Because then you gotta maybe give up some shit that normally you'd want to watch, right? You're not gonna watch Fox, you're gonna miss some sports. You're not watching CBS, you're gonna miss some sports. But like, fuck it, I'm not turning on CBS. So you got the double blackouts. Don't spend and stop putting your eyeballs to these sites and these media corporations that have failed us and are frankly moving in the wrong direction. They become propaganda arms.
Yes.
As an example, that new Barry Weiss at CBS who's running the news says that they have to have more middle of the 40-yard line voices, and that's where America is. So we need to amplify people like, wait for it, Alan Dershowitz. That was the example she used as the type of person whose voice needs to be amplified.
I kept my underwear on during the massage, Dershowitz.
That's the direction CBS is going to move in. So yeah, so it's twofold. Hopefully, really, we know that women do most of the spending in America and make most of the household spending decisions. So we're really going to need women in America to come through on the blackout and not shop as much. Because men, we're kind of pretty lazy, too lazy to shop. So
Absolutely.
a lot of that's going to fall on them. But we cannot go to restaurants and we cannot do some of that other stuff.
Absolutely. Target got the message loud and clear. All right. I mean, look, it's easy if you want to make it easy, because you can support Aldi, you can support your local grocers, you can support local businesses, right? You don't have to support these chains that don't give a fuck about us, the Krogers of the world that are price gouging us. I mean, they don't have a good reason. Remember when there used to be a good reason for the price of orange juice going up? We had a big freeze in Florida, right? And you could kind of, you guys say, oh yeah, okay, maybe the weather did affect the crop, and I understand, there's a shortage of oranges. They don't even fucking bother telling you now. We're just jacking the fucking prices up. And every time you go to the grocery store, it is hard as fuck to pull out your card and swipe, because you got to make sure you got enough in your account to cover the purchase, right? And that means you got to take away from something else, right? Because things are so far out of whack. And it really is frustrating that you can't, Brock, who knew in our lifetime we would get to the point where it's almost impossible to get ahead? How much more money can you make at your job, right? It's almost impossible to get ahead. And all the places where you might be able to make more money, they're cutting back, right? All these corporate positions, they're cutting back.
Oh, you kidding? When job losses are increasing, you don't have the same mobility, so you don't have leverage to get that year-end raise that you want to go and talking for. You just want to sail through quietly and not get laid off, right? Okay. So that goes out the window. Obviously, bonuses are down if they exist, even in the businesses that do it. And we never had the political will anyway, and I blame the Democrats as much as anyone on this, is to get the fucking minimum wage up.
Right.
So, minimum wage workers are getting screwed left and right all over the country, right? We know they're not even close to a living wage.
Right. Who's going to be our hero, Brock? Who's going to be our Alexei Navalny? Who is going to be our Greta? What's Greta's name? The climate warrior.
Thunberg? I don't know. I'm waiting to see. Look, I love that guy down in Tennessee. I had the wrong guy. I'm a super fan now of that Kat Azabanuja or whatever. I can't pronounce her last name yet, who's out in Illinois.
Yeah.
She's out saying, right? She's out impeach, convict, remove. Like, she's like, if you aren't out saying that, you shouldn't be running for office next year.
No doubt.
She's she's gotten her ass kicked like 3 or 4 times by ICE agents because they were out picketing that facility, which, oh, by the way, the representative finally got to see and said the conditions are abhorrent. Right. So, like, I'm a fan of Cat A because you can't shut her up, right? And she's not playing the corporate game. She's just, she's aggressive. So, and she's very, very young.
Yep.
So I think there's a bunch of them out there that are like that.
Right.
She's just been particularly effective, and I think she's going to win her primary. And if she wins her primary, I think she's going to win her seat because, if there's elections, we're gonna steamroll them.
Yeah.
Especially if a lot of incumbent MAGA congressmen step out of the way. So they're going to have to find new candidates that no one's ever heard of right? So they're going to lose that advantage of incumbency in a bunch of seats
Yeah. You know what?
if
I
there's elections.
Yeah, I really feel like, these next few days and weeks leading into the holiday season is a good opportunity for some of these MAGA folks to step down while, families are focused on the holidays, right?
Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock of Thanksgiving weekend.
Exactly. Hey, you saw when Marjorie released her, you know, resignation information. She did that on what, a late Friday night or late Saturday night? People are trying to slip past the news cycle because they know, the media has zero, zero attention span. So, as soon as we're on from that story already. And who knew MTG would lead, the resurgence out or the surge out of MAGA? Who had that on their bingo card?
I didn't until she started chirping though, and she's savvy. So I'm betting she understands MAGA better than all of us, right? I'm betting she's more ahead of the curve than behind it. Let us not forget we're now only 7 days away from that Tennessee special election,
Right.
and if that Afton Bain wins a +22 red district,
We know what time it is.
wow, will that accelerate the resignations
Right.
of MAGA Congress people who are looking out into next year going, shit, I'm going to get primaried by a Trump fanatic.
Right.
And then I'm going to have to turn around and beat a Dem in a world in which the president's disapproval is like in the 65% range. Like,
Right.
how the fuck am I possibly going to win? And why would I put myself through that? I will get screamed at everywhere I go.
Exactly.
So, getting back to my initial comment, which is they're pussies, so I would expect more resignations than people that would actually have the conviction to want to fight and or to actually speak against the president and maybe try to chart a new direction for a Republican Party that's not entirely MAGA. How about that? There used to be that party. I remember that party. I think it was the 2006s or maybe 2002.
Definitely
A
was.
party like that existed that you could actually argue with them over policy. Yeah, you knew they were racist and, elitist and all that shit, but at least you could have a conversation with them, right?
Right. That was, the Tea Party people would at least tell you what they were pissed off about. They're pissed off about everything, but shit. We didn't have people out here trying to murder people. So, yeah, Brock, all right, time to wrap up. Give me your quick hit. What do you got? Well, I got one first.
Yeah, you start.
I hope it doesn't burn yours, but I was
Nope.
going to say House Oversight Committee has subpoenaed Ghislaine Maxwell for a deposition. So that's happening. I saw that last night. And also, they have subpoenaed the DOJ for all the Epstein files. So the House Oversight Committee wants it all. And somebody's going to go to jail, hopefully, if they don't produce it.
Okay, so Maxwell could plead the fifth. I've seen somewhere where she might plead the fifth, or would they kind of grant her immunity and just can the House even do that? I don't even know if they have the power to do that. But my question is, why would she talk? She's so afraid of Trump. I'm just worried. But it would still make a good spectacle and get the story out there and like keep this story. Yeah, do not let this story
keep it alive.
Keep it alive. Because it's almost faded for a couple of days now since the vote, right? Because they kind of had the 30 day, they pumped the brakes on it.
Right.
It'll come back around.
Okay. Be slow playing it. But it would be great to have Ghislaine, even if it's a closed door House committee oversight deposition, but I want it open to the world. It would be nice to have those victims on the Hill, along with Ghislaine Maxwell, talking about her role. And
oh my God.
What theater? Huh?
Oh my God. TMZ would love that one. Talk about a crossover between news and like fucking salacious entertainment. Okay. If it's behind closed doors, I would hope we would at least get the deposition and not just the different opinions of what was said where, the Republican comes out of the room saying one thing and Democrat the other, and we have no idea what really went on, back there just because the propaganda machine kicks into high gear. Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
No doubt. All right, what do you got for me?
Okay, I'm going to go a little more on the social side.
Okay.
You may have seen, I got a question for you. I know it's an idiotic question, but we are two men in black and white trying to have an honest conversation. So you may have seen that The Wicked for Good, the Wicked sequel,
Yes.
broke some had a massive box office weekend. Just
Right.
over the charts, dominating the theaters, and theaters were packed. And apparently it got fantastic reviews, as did the first one.
Right.
So basically, America flooded the movie theaters to watch this movie, which stars a black woman, a white woman, directed by an Asian guy, with the LGBTQ co-star. And throw, I think, Jeff Goldblum in there, who's a fucking maniac, right?
Right.
Okay,
He's a
so
great actor.
we flood to the theaters to see this phenomenal diversity,
Right.
multicultural, multi-ethnic rendition of The Wizard of Oz, which, oh, by the way, growing up, was an all-white version, if I recall correctly, and now is repurposed into this multicultural, multiracial phenomenon that, may win Oscars again, but certainly printing money, and has become the focus of the entire entertainment world for at least
Sure.
this week.
Sure.
Why? Why do those people then become whenever they talk about anything outside of the movie, they become Hollywood liberals and elites and hated by MAGA, even though MAGA just rushed to the theaters to watch them. And yet, people can come out of the theater and immediately hate black people after just enjoying the efforts of one in front of them, and hate LGBTQ people also after just watching the excellence of one of them. How do they keep those two thoughts in their head and go back to being racist after flooding the theaters to watch the movie?
Well, Brock, can I refer you back to Eddie Murphy's stand-up with the red suit? Was that Delirious? Yeah, remember when red leather suit? Remember when Eddie goes to get my candy? Hey, yeah, give me a couple of jujubes, some this and that, and yeah, the Moulignon's gonna pay for it. And then Eddie Murphy reminds us, oh yeah, Eddie's not an N-word. He's an entertainer. So that's why they can take their kids to see that movie and remind themselves that, yeah, black people, they're musically gifted and that kind of thing. So are the gays. They're really good with the music and stuff like that. And we enjoy it. My kid's happy. My kid was bugging me. I had to bring my kid. Now me personally, I don't like them. But I understand that, Brock, they've been, twisting themselves into psychological pretzels, for 10 years with Donald Trump, and now they can come out in the open with it. And that's how they do it, because hypocrisy is what MAGA is grounded in. They're hypocrites about everything. Just like they were about Obamacare. Hey, fuck Obamacare, Obama. I got the ACA. Same thing, my friend. So, it's just, it's the old Jimmy the Greek. The blacks got the extra muscle in their leg, makes them faster. What? Right? I mean, it is what it is, bro. And, I don't think we can read into that, except for the only people reading into that are the people who do the research to figure out what kind of movie to make next, right? It's going to be a big hit. They're the ones who care about the demographics of those folks who were at the movies.
Well, then maybe it helps a little bit, as Eddie Murphy maybe broke through. Maybe, what's her name, Cynthia Erivo being the star helps other black women get the leading role, right along with an Ariana Grande, who, by the way, has used her platform of the endless pre-movie premiere tour to, talk shit on Trump, which I respected, because I'm sure the bosses at wherever it was, Warner Brothers or whoever the fuck made the movie, were wishing she would shut the fuck up and just be the smiling white star, right? And not cause any controversy. But somehow,
She's white?
wow, it's one of those. I don't
Latino.
know. I got the Wikipedia. Maybe I thought she's white. Maybe you think she's mixed race? Is she Latino? I don't know. I think she's from Florida. It's Florida.
Find out. We'll follow up tomorrow.
We'll come back on that tomorrow. All right, maybe that's the white guy just trying to like co-opt her into the team. Like, hey, she's on our squad. Hey, whatever team she's on, she has been a good loud critic, and I think,
Oh, no doubt.
has certainly earned my respect, and I'm sure the respect of many others in
Many
terms of
others.
being willing to use the platform at a time where her job was just to sell tickets, and she used the cameras and the microphones in front of her to like, make some statements, right? Because she's not oblivious to the fact she's got the black co-star and the, and the gay co-star and the Asian director and all that.
Show.
She can look around and know what the fuck's going on.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll have to look up the Ariana Grande. We'll have to check her. What's that called? 23 and Me or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll get right
I
on
want the
that.
I want the full breakdown.
All right, Brody,
All
that's
right,
it for us today.
all right, good
Check
stuff.
in
Always a
tomorrow.
pleasure, Mark. All right, talk to you
Always.
tomorrow.
All right, brother.
Adios.
Talk at you.